Good afternoon, everyone. Nice to be here again. My name is Catherine Ross. I deal with the sales, marketing and support teams here at Dynamics Consultants, and I've probably spoken or met most of you over the years. So a warm welcome to the 6th Dynamics Changes event. Gosh, how time flies. Please remember that you can win a bottle of champagne for completing the feedback and sending it to us within the timescales. And before we get on to the main event today, I'm going to give you a bit of an update on what's happening within DC and in the NAV and Business Central world also. So from our point of view, we've got a couple of new resources that have joined. We have a new developer, Laszlo, and a new guy on level 3 support, Marjan. We're still recruiting, as we always are, for additional consultants and solution architects. And in the Meet the Teams videos today, we've got Aimee and Owen, more about them later. The big news and the reason for the timing of this event is that we've had a new release for Business Central. It's version 20. More improvements around processing, which is all great news. Stuart is covering a lot of this in the session later on, so I won't steal his thunder. There's been a lot of activity around Microsoft licensing, and those of you who are on the SaaS platform will have been party to many conversations around the NCE. You didn't know you had to be a licensing expert as well, did you? New software, we're partnered with the Dogma Group, as you met Eddie last time, with the Cirrus app for payroll. Eddie's back with us again to take us through Dynamics 365 HR. And we've got Steve from Qgate, who is going to show us D365 sales, also known as CRM. We're always on the lookout for case studies, so anything that we've done well, any small projects or big implementations, we'd like to promote your business, and sometimes we can get Microsoft to promote it also, which is great publicity all round. I'm happy to talk to anybody about what's involved, or I can put the marketing teams in touch with each other. So please rest assured that we do most of the legwork though. We are going to be in person at Accountex this year in a couple of weeks on the 11th and 12th of May at the Excel Centre in London. It's going to be amazing to see real live people at long last. We're on stand 515, so anybody who's in and around the area who's got an interest and wants to see a bit more, then we'd love to see you. The next event for our Dynamics Changes will be mid-July, so hopefully we can get a session in before the holidays all begin. I think that's an update from us now. As always, please put any questions or comments into the chat box. We'll be putting a couple of links in there during the course today. And in the sessions today, so we've got Meet the Team is Aimee, who works with Jessie and I in sales and marketing, and then later on we've got Owen, who's an apprentice in the consultancy team. So for the next segment, I'd like to introduce Steve Clark from Qgate. We've partnered with Qgate on CRM for a very long time and it works extremely well. They pass us any ERP inquiries that they have and we pass them any CRM inquiries, so it's a great relationship. Steve is going to take us on a whistle-stop tour through CRM. If you want a deeper dive, as he says, it takes him normally a good hour to go through, but if you want a deeper dive, then please let me know and I can make the introduction to Steve for you. Over to you, Steve.
Hello, my name is Steve Clark and I am the Business Development Lead at Qgate Software. Here at Qgate, we specialise in the development of Dynamics 365 CRM and we are a long-standing partner of Dynamics Consultants. So thank you very much to DC for inviting me to today give you a bit of a walk around Dynamics CRM. Now I've got a period of time, about 10-15 minutes to show you this. In reality, I do and often spend much longer talking about Dynamics and giving demonstrations around particular features and functions. So if there's anything that I touch upon in this session that you'd like elaborating on, then by all means, please do get in touch and I'll be happy to set up a one-on-one. So before you can see a Dynamics dashboard. This is by default what I've set Dynamics to present when I log in the morning. In reality, you can set it to show you anything when you log on. If you wanted a list of activities, accounts, contacts, opportunities, absolutely. But by default, I've set it as a dashboard. Just briefly, by way of what you can see in front of you, On the left-hand side, you have a list of quick menu items, predominantly entities such as inquiries, opportunities, quotes, so on and so forth, which I'll go into shortly. Across the top, you can see a ribbon of menu items. These relate directly to the window of information that you can see in front of you. Some settings icons up here, and then finally a search bar. So it's my intention to show you a little bit around dynamics, and what I'll do is demonstrate a very simple sales process, staged sales process. So from initial inquiry, how you progress that to opportunity, how you manage that, and then convert that into a customer, which will then provide you with a contact and an account within Dynamics as well. So to talk about the dashboard that you can see in front of you, this is an example Business Development Manager one. It has things like pipeline funnels, so opportunity by stage. You can see if you hover over, it'll show you the opportunity that I as a BDM have at qualify stage. The constant across all of these is that if you click into it, you can then drill down into the information that you are presented with. So this is a pipeline of opportunity. If I click that on a bar chart, then it will show me the individual opportunities by amount as well. Other useful information, you can see inquiry sources. So from a marketing perspective, very useful to understand where your inquiries are coming from. So some examples: partners, referrals, advertisements, word of mouth. Over here, I have some one opportunities information. So again, a list of companies over a period of time that I've stipulated. Some more information here: open opportunities. Interesting to me that I know that ABC Services here has £50 million worth of projected revenue. So of course, I want to manage that a little bit more closely. From a productivity perspective, you can see here activities, just really to see the kind of output that I'm conducting on a monthly basis. And then finally, as an example on this dashboard, is a list of activities. Now, personally, being in sales, the activities feature within Dynamics, or the activities within Dynamics, is probably the most powerful. Very useful twofold, really. Firstly, for logging all of the interaction between an organization, so me and then a prospect or an account. So anything from phone calls, appointments. There's an Outlook integration that pulls in emails that you have between any particular contact that is then held against the CRM record. And then the other incredibly useful element is creating a workflow. So if I have opportunities that are outstanding, I can set activities that will remind me to call that particular prospect in a week or 2 weeks or however long. Account management, I can set recurring monthly contacts or touch points with the accounts on here. And that's presented here at dashboard. Another example, if I can just go down to a sales management dashboard here, this will give me information of my team. So CRM user 1 and Qgate support, imagine that's Mike and John. It shows me their inquiries over the last 30 days. Beyond inquiries, we have opportunities here as well. So open opportunities. I can see that Mike, Dave, Jane, and Jenny. Jane here is sitting on £50 million worth of proposed business, whereas Mike up here hasn't got any. So I might want to spend a bit more time with Mike in developing his pipeline. So that's an example of some of the dashboards that you can see. Going back to a typical sales process, so from initial inquiry through to close, first point of call or port of call on Dynamics is an inquiry, also known as a lead. We've just termed it as an inquiry for this example. Now, an inquiry, as we see it, is an initial indication of interest. So it's a possible opportunity. So the scourge of any CRM, and you'll find this worldwide, any CRM scourge is duplicate data, fake information. So before Dynamics will create anything in by way of account or contact within the CRM, it presents you with an inquiry. So this might have come from, as an example, a contact form on the website, some gated information. Maybe if you have a white paper or a download, someone might have put in a fake email address or even a fake name. So before it does start creating a contact or an account or an opportunity, it will give you this one entity, one piece of information to deal with and validate. So you can then assess whether this is a legitimate inquiry. Go onto LinkedIn, see if actually Jimmy Jacobs is a real person that works at Jimmy Sinks. If he does, great. What we're looking to do is validate that, and at that point, we can then convert this into an inquiry and then a contact in an account being the company name. So just to talk about what you can see in front of you by way of a screen, the constant throughout Dynamics is a summary tab. It shows you high-line information. At this stage, at inquiry stage, you won't get too much further information. But you can also see a timeline. Now, this will become more apparent as I go further on in the demonstration, but this is the snapshot of all the activities that I mentioned: phone calls, emails, appointments. It will give that audit trail of all those interactions. Now, across the top here is a kind of standard workflow. So you'll recall on the dashboard that I demonstrated, there was a pipeline at qualify, develop, propose, and close stage. These workflows can be absolutely customized and amended to suit your customers' workflows and processes. Here, instead of qualify, you might have discovery, you might have demonstration, you might have proof of concept, then proposal, then quote, then close. And you'll note that these are locked, so you can't progress this opportunity until you've fulfilled a set of criteria, understanding who the contact is, the purchase time frame, budget, decision makers, so on and so forth. Now, at inquiry stage, you don't want anything really beyond the core information. You've got perhaps an inquiry source up here in the top right, a warm rating because it looks like a good lead, the status, also the owner as well. You might have a sales manager that receives inbound inquiries that then associate them to a particular salesperson. Say if it's geographic, then if something comes in for the north, they have a northern salesperson. The sales manager can very easily drop down and change that to that owner, or conversely, if someone is a product specialist internally in that the inquiry pertains to that, then of course they can do the same. So I've got this inquiry. I called up Jimmy. I have a bit of a chat, and we start fleshing out a bit more information about the requirement at hand. Now I will go then across because I've had this chat with Jimmy, and I'm going to switch to another company in true Blue Peter fashion because never demo live. We go to opportunities, and I've qualified it. So at the inquiry stage, I've had the conversation, I've hit go, and I know it is a legitimate opportunity. So for the instance of this, we've gone from Jimmy Sinks across to Peckham Limited, but the example remains the same. So you can see here I've qualified it at that stage. So I've identified the contact, purchase time frame, decision maker. If it's an individual or a committee, for example, to approve this particular project quote. Again, the constant is you can see a summary here, interesting information about the opportunity, budget amounts, so on and so forth. Again, this timeline, you can start to see, because I've had that phone call, I can confirm the notes that I had with, or the notes from the call that I had with Sam. Just gives a brief snapshot of that interaction. Tasks, so I spoke earlier on about setting yourself a workflow. I've got a task set for next week that if I haven't heard from Sam, to get back in touch. Because I have had that conversation and I know that they've got an estimated close date of the 20th of April, estimated revenue, it's the really interesting information that allows me to build up that forecast that I showed on the dashboard. And because I've set an estimated close date that's quite close, the assistant has notified me that there's a likelihood that this opportunity could be closing soon. We can start adding things like stakeholders, so I can see that Sam, who I spoke to, is the key stakeholder. Sales team, you might have pre-sales, you might have technical expertise that you would pull in as a team to take on a particular opportunity. You can add that there. And then things like competitors as well. Now, you can also, within Dynamics, have price lists. So what I've done previously, just in preparation for this particular demonstration, is I've created a quote against this opportunity. And you can see that it is information like the currency, the price list that I've chosen linked back to the opportunity and the customer. And here you can see is a product, and you can add as many or as few products as you like. Gives an example of that. And then there are integrations within Dynamics, things like export to PDF. You hit go and it generates a quote just based on the information that's in this opportunity here. So At this point, I've got the opportunity. I've had the conversation. I'll send out a contract, and Sam has accepted. Hit close, and then what that's done is put that in the system as a one opportunity, and it will archive it for access whenever you like. Now, I mentioned when we have qualified it from inquiry to an opportunity, what it's done after that validation point is it's created a contact and an account. So if I go across to a contact, so I know Sam is the contact that pertains to this opportunity. We've got, again, Highline information on the summaries tab. We've got the timeline. So this, again, is all the information that doesn't just pertain to the opportunity that we looked at a moment ago, but this is all of the interaction that we've had with Sam. So phone calls, tasks, emails. You can see here pulled in from Outlook, or you can send directly from Dynamics as well. Any opportunities that, again, Sam as a quick access, kind of key information up here as well. Going across to the account itself, so it's created that company account here. We can start to add different contacts, and again, the timeline. What it's now done is pull in not only interactions that I've had with Sam or about the opportunity that relates to Peckham, it's any other contacts. So you can see that historic list of interactions with the business. So if anyone leaves, member of staff leaves or off sick or long-term sabbatical, then you don't miss anything. You know exactly what's going on all the time. Just some related kind of things that you can have. The activities, as I mentioned, you can set future activities. You can link social profiles, customer assets if you've loaned them a piece of equipment, for example. Inquiries and opportunities, orders, previous orders and quotes that I mentioned. So this is the company account. Another useful thing at the top here is organisation chart. If you know people report to who. You have larger organisations, it's particularly useful as well. So that is a high level, a sales initial inquiry through to closed business and subsequent creation of an account and contact. Just also like to quickly touch on, if I can click down here. Just have to move myself out of the way. Click down here to sales, to customer service, forgive me. We've been focusing on sales, having a look here, customer service representative dashboard. So Dynamics is absolutely geared up for things like ticketing and cases. Here you have an example of, as a customer service rep, I can see all the cases, the origins. I can see my active cases by how long they've been in my queue, and then the priority of those particular daily cases as well. Resolved cases, activities, so much in the same way for sales, you can set activities against cases. So that is from an individual perspective. If we go out to customer service manager, you can see all your members of staff by the amount of active cases that they have, so you can you know where to direct the next cases, things like active cases across priority type as well. And then finally, just to touch on marketing within Dynamics, the ability to create marketing lists is very, very useful. So an example that I have here is an account management list. So when this loads, click into account newsletter, and the members of that, as an example, because I'd signed Peckham Limited, is against this list. So there are various marketing automations that you could pull in, marketing integrations that present themselves as native to Dynamics, that allow you to send e-shots, text messages, so on and so forth. So there we go, a whistle-stop tour of Dynamics. To recap, my name's Steve, Qgate Software, Steve Clark at Qgate Software. I hope you've enjoyed what I've showed, and if you would like any elaboration on any of that information, please do get in touch with Dynamics Consultants, and they will happily send you my way. All the best, thank you.
Hi, I'm Aimee Thompson, and I'm the marketing apprentice here at Dynamics Consultants. I help keep both our customers and our team up to date with all the latest information. That includes with our blogs, e-shots, and through our events. Outside the office, I love to sing, and I'm a big gamer.
Thanks, Steve. That gives you a very small taste, as he said, of what CRM can offer. If you've got any questions, please put them in the chat, and one of us in the back will answer them. So now we've got Stuart coming up with what's new in Business Central. It's version 20. Obviously, we've got limited amount of time, so we're just going to show you a few of the main areas that we felt might be of interest. If you're looking to upgrade or you want more information, then obviously please contact either your consultant, Stuart, or myself. So over to you, Stuart.
Hello and welcome to this presentation where I'm going to be going through some of the new features and functionality that have been released as part of Business Central 2022 Release Wave 1. That's version 20 if you talk in old money. This isn't a comprehensive list of all the improvements, but it's just some of the highlights that I've picked out that I think are most likely to be relevant to our customer base. The first thing I'm going to do is to show you how to activate some of this functionality, and then we'll get into the functionality itself. With these new features and functions I'm going to show you, some of them require switching on within your system. So if you want to switch them on, look for Feature Management, and then within the Feature Management you'll see new areas of functionality that have been released in this or potentially previous versions. With this list of functionality, it tells you when they will be automatically enabled, so after this date it will be switched on in your system whether you like it or not. But it gives you the ability to turn things on individually. So for instance, if I want to turn on the use tracking by package number and reservations, I can come in here and I can switch it to say enabled for all users, accept the message it gives you. That then becomes enabled in the system. There might be further setup you have to carry out to make that work, but you've actually turned the functionality on in this system. Another request we regularly receive from customers is to change the bank account details that display on sales documents. As standard, Business Central shows the bank details from the company information page. If however you generate an invoice in euros and have a euro bank account, you want to show those details on the invoice instead. The new functionality is set up from the bank account card. So here we have a euro bank account and we're going to tick this new field that says use as default for currency. You can only have one bank account specified as the default for each currency. We're now going to go back and we're going to create a new sales order for a euro customer. And what we'll see on this sales order on the invoice details tab is that company bank account code has now been filled in with the euro bank account. If we stick an item onto the order, and then we'll post this order, ship an invoice set, and then look at the invoice that's been generated and print it out. What we'll then see on this invoice up here is that it's picked the euro bank and it's now showing the euro bank account on the sales invoice. This functionality also works with the service orders, so it works in both areas of functionality in the system. In this version, Microsoft made some improvements to the jobs module. In the past, you only ever be able to assign one customer to a job, for instance, a bill to customer. In the new version, if we have a quick look at this, you can assign a customer to the job. So we're going to assign Sportsmeyer Furnishings. You can also assign a bill to customer. So we can specify here a different customer we want to send the bills to. So if you've got a scenario where you're working with a group of companies, it might be that you're doing something for one particular company, but you send the bill to the parent company. You can now, on the jobs, assign the bill to and the sell to. They've also expanded it to include the ship to address. So this is where you're actually carrying out the physical work. Maybe the customer that you're doing the work for has multiple addresses. In this case, they've got offices and warehouses. You can select the address you're sending it to, and then that is the ship to address for this particular job. This brings it more in sync with the functionality you've got on the sales side, which obviously the jobs ties into. You can also see here that the payment terms code has been added to the job. This means that you can pick different payment terms to those that you usually deal with this customer on. Additional functionality has also been added to the jobs to integrate it to the warehousing module. On the jobs, there is now under Actions, Warehouse, the ability to create inventory picks and warehouse picks. Obviously this is dependent on the setup of the locations that you've got on this particular job, but for this job I know that I'm linked to the silver location, so I can create an inventory pick. When I run the process, it's now created me one inventory pick that I can now navigate to and view the pick. From this pick, if I then post it, this is effectively carrying out a job journal in the background. So rather than having to manually fill out a job journal, I can now go through the warehousing process, pick the goods that I want to ship, and then post it. And now when I've posted this, this will now show up as a consumption against the job itself. So if we look at related, history, ledger entries, we can see we now have the usage there for that item already posted against the job, which has been carried out through the warehousing module. This is a really nice piece of functionality. We found we've actually carried out similar functionality. We had to create it and develop it ourselves in the past. So I think this is going to be super useful for an awful lot of customers. The standard dimension functionality has now been extended to locations as well. So from a location card, you can click on the dimensions action at the top, and in the same way as you can with other master data, such as customers, vendors, items, bank accounts, you can specify dimensions that you want to assign, or if you want to ensure that you always have a particular dimension posted against a transaction, you can now set this up at location level. Super handy if you want to work out, for instance, stock adjustments made per location or various expenses and costs that are posted to your GL per location as well. It's often been the case that a company in Business Central could be both a customer and a vendor. Historically, it's been very difficult to see visually how much money you owe them as a supplier and they owe you as a customer. For this new piece of functionality to work, you must be using the contacts and contact business relationships within Business Central, so the system knows how to associate a customer with a vendor. We can see here that Guildford Water Department has two business relationships. It is both a customer and a vendor. If we go back to the customer list, here we see Guildford Water Department as a customer who have an outstanding balance. They also have, in this fact box over here, you'll see a balance as a vendor. If we open the customer card, you can see the balance as a vendor is portrayed and sat right next to the balance on the general tab, so very easy and very visible. If we then go to the vendor list, you'll see the same in reverse. This is the Guildford Water Department as a vendor with a balance, but also, as we see here in the fact box, a balance as a customer. We go into the customer card, and we can see the balance and the balance as a customer, nice and visible. Now we're going to have a look at the payment journal. So if you're about to make a payment to a vendor, you might want to check first if you've got any customer facing ledger entries that can be applied against those. Now you can see that within the payment journal there is a new functionality under prepare called net customer and vendor balances. When we run this process, there are a few options. So you can specify the order that it suggests the entries in. You can specify some vendor filters, a description, document numbers, etc. So we'll run this just on our vendor 30,000, which is the Guildford Water Department. This is then brought through all of the vendor entries for the relevant vendor and all of the customer entries, and has applied them to each other. If we're happy with that, we can then go through and click on the post button and post the journal. Once the journal has been posted, it obviously applies the vendor and the customer ledger entries against each other, and if we wish to, we can send a remittance advice to the vendor explaining what we've done. A nice quick one, this one. If you have a number of sales orders or purchase orders that you wish to release in bulk or reopen in bulk, there's now the functionality here to release reopen from the list. So you can select multiple documents, mark release, it tells you how many you're releasing, 5 in this case, click yes, and they're released. And if you want to reopen them, click the reopen, and they're reopened. Since deferrals were introduced 6 or 7 years ago, they've been a very valuable feature within Business Central. However, one major restriction has been the dates in which you can post to with a deferral. Either at a company level or an individual user level, you need to have your allow posting from and to dates opened up as far forward as you wish to post a deferral. So for instance, if you're posting something which is to be deferred over 3 years, you need to have an allow posting to date set 3 years in the future. There's also a risk associated with that. So thankfully now in the new version they've expanded the allow posting from and to functionality. On the general ledger setup there are now 2 new fields, allow deferral posting from and allow deferral posting to, which is obviously set at a company level. And also on the user setup the same fields have been added there as well. So you can allow individual users, maybe accounts users for instance, to be able to post deferrals into a longer range into the future. Additionally, on the deferral template card, there's now an additional option here, so the start date on deferrals can now be set to be the beginning of the next calendar year. If you work in Business Central and post documents regularly, you'll know one of the most infuriating things is when someone hasn't filled out the information correctly and you get an error message when you're trying to post a document. There's new functionality which you can switch on in the general ledger setup that allows the system to check prior to posting whether there are potential issues with the document or the journal. So on the general tab of general ledger setup, you can turn on the enable data check functionality. And then if you reload the system, and we're going to the general journal now, you can see that there will be an error box that appears on the general journals. We now have this journal check in the top right corner. In the journal check, it tells you how many lines have been checked and how many lines have issues. You can drill down on the issues total and it gives you a warning message about what the error is. So in this case, I can see that I'm missing the department code for GL account 5710 in line 450,000. Now that line number may not mean anything to you. However, Microsoft have very kindly now given us an open related record action. So if we click on that, it opens up the journal again and takes us straight to the line with the issue. This line here, 5710 for fuel tax. If I scroll across, you can see it's missing a department code. So I'm going to fill in sales, select it and tab out of it. And then if I go back, you see the error message vanishes and I can then return to my journal where I have no issues remaining, and I can then go and post the journal. This functionality also exists on documents. So if we have a quick look at sales invoices, for instance, open up trade research, we'll see the similar kind of error box up here. So up here we've got check document, issue totals 1, and again same kind of thing. It says the dimension value code large for dimension code customer group is missing. So we now know we need to resolve that issue before we can post this invoice. I think that's a really useful piece of functionality and hopefully it will save a lot of frustration, particularly in the accounts departments when they're coming to post large volumes of documents and journals. In Business Central, there's been a function called Find Entries for a number of years. In previous versions, such as Navision or Nav, this was called Navigate. Fun fact time, the word Navision, or the name Navision, comes from the combination of the word navigate and vision. So the product was allowing you to navigate with vision. As the names moved on, however, they've done away with the navigate function. It's now been rebranded as Find Entries. So Find Entries allows you to find all transactions relating to a particular record you're on. So this invoice, when I click on Find Entries, it shows me all of the related entries from it. This functionality has now been expanded. So from the home page, if we click back to the home page, you'll now see on our actions here, there is a Find Entries button. If we click on that, we then have a number of different options. So we can search for different documents in the system. We can search for business contacts, such as customers and vendors and individual people. And we can search for item references. We're going to search for documents again. You've also got more options here. You've got document number, posting date, and external document number. So for instance, if a customer rings you up and wants to find out about a particular transaction, if they can give you their PO number, so we'll say PO 0055 and hit enter and find, it will then find all the transactions relating to that particular PO number of theirs. Obviously there could be the same PO number from multiple customers, you need to be aware of that. But in this example, we can now go through, we can see the individual sales invoice. We can open that up. We can see the GL entries, we can see the posted shipment, so we can see all the bits of information relating to that particular customer's order number. So quite a useful addition. The ability to block records in Business Central prevents people from incorrectly selecting a no longer used record. This functionality has been extended now to general posting setup and VAT posting setup. So for instance, if as a business you no longer use a particular combination of setup, you can now move into these pages, find the record you want to block, so domestic VAT 20 for instance, and tick it as being blocked. Once you've selected blocked, it will then error if you try and use it in any documents. So if I go and have a look at sales order now, and open up a sales order here, which is using one of those combinations of records. So this is a domestic GB customer with bicycle. You can see there's an error appeared here in the new check document functionality box that said the setup is blocked for the VAT posting combination. Again, you can use it on the general posting setup as well. It's great if you, for instance, a group of companies and use a templated company and you create new companies on a regular basis, you can block certain combinations of posting setup for certain companies. Another quick one. Report selections have been introduced for jobs. In previous versions, you've been able to specify which report you want to use for different sales documents, purchase documents, service documents, etc. But now they've introduced it for jobs. Currently, the only report that you can specify is the job quote, in this case, report 1016. However, the implication from Microsoft is that in future versions, they might be introducing new reports to use for jobs. So hopefully there'll be some changes coming up in the future around the jobs functionality in the system. This next piece of functionality is a nice starter from Microsoft, however it's got the feeling of not being quite finished yet. It's called bank deposits. So this is primarily to be used if you deposit multiple payments to the bank at a single time. So here we are on the bank deposit screen. If I click out of the number field, it would automatically assign me a number. I then pick the bank account that I wish to deposit the money into, in this case GBP, and the total value of the deposit. So let's say it's £500. Set the posting date, nice and simple, make it today's date. This field here, the post as lump sum, this is set from a field on the sales receivable setup. So you can either set it as a lump sum or not as a lump sum. It doesn't make a great deal of sense to not have this set. The idea is that you get one single bank ledger entry created from the deposit. So I think you always want that to be switched on. So that's on. Again, we can set the document date. You can set dimensions. So there's the global dimensions, department and project code. And the currency code obviously flows from the bank account that you specified. And then on the lines, you can say what type of entry is it you're posting. So maybe if you've got some petty cash you want to deposit, you can say it's a GL account, and then we'll type in cash, find our petty cash account, and we'll say that £100 of this is going to be petty cash. What's the document type? Is it a payment or a refund? Well, that's a matter of the petty cash, and a document number. Again, this doesn't fill in automatically, which is slightly strange because this is effectively a batch, so it should fill in, but it's not. So we'll just put in cash in there, and maybe we've also received some money from a customer. So maybe it's a check that they left in the office, or maybe I don't know, something else. So Selangorian, it says a payment and an amount. We're going to say it's £400 for that. Now we're filling the document number, so as we said, it's a check there. You can, under the functions, apply this entry to an existing customer record. So this is similar to a cash receipt journal, for instance, but you can't drill down. You've got to click on the actions, which seems a little bit strange. So we could say that we want to apply it to, let's take this bottom one there, set the applies to ID, click OK. And then once you've completed that, you can check the difference. So we've got the total deposit of £500, two lines there that sum up to 500, therefore the difference is 0. And you can post it, so hit post. This then creates you a posted bank deposit. So this is a record that you can go back and review in the future if you so wish. So we can see the posted bank deposit there. We now come back from that. This is our bank account card here. Let's refresh that. You can see we've got £1,750 in the account. If I drill down, you can see the deposit here of £500. There's also the option from the entry action up here to view the bank deposit lines, so we can see those two lines that we put on the bank deposit. So again, that's quite nice. You've got visibility there when you've made a deposit into the bank. So we then go and have a quick look at the bank account reconciliations. If I open up bank account reconciliation, which is in progress, you can see here then that I've got the single line has been brought through there for the £500 for that single bank deposit. So again, it's a nice piece of functionality. It's a quick way of being able to reconcile when you've done a lump sum to the bank, but it feels like there's a little bit of tidying up needed by Microsoft just to make it a really nice piece. One last feature I want to show is the new ability to edit reports in Excel. So here we can have a look at the summary aging report. I'm going to run the report, and then there's an option to send to, and then Microsoft Excel document data only. It's very important to send the data only out. So click OK, it exports it to Excel for you. Then when it opens up, what you'll get is the data from that report exported out to Excel. So There it is. You can then manipulate that. So you can do pivot tables, you can put slices in, you can create charts, whatever you want, and save them on a separate tab. So you need to create a new tab. So as in Blue Peter, here's one I prepared earlier. So here I've got a sheet where I've got a basic pivot table on it, and then I've got a sheet with some pie charts on it. A customer balance, so you can see the balance per different customers, and then also a breakdown of the amount we're owed in local currency by different currencies. So how exposed are we to different currencies? So now we need to flick back into Business Central. So I'll close that. Back into Business Central. Now we need to find the report layouts page. So up here you search for report layouts. And we're going to create a new one. So I know that report happened to be report 105. You can search on the report to find out what report number it is, but we'll enter 105 in there. We'll give it a name, so graph, a description, graph will do again. Format is Excel, say OK to that, and now we import the layout that we've just designed. So in this case it's my summary aging layout there. We'll open that. That's now imported it as a layout. We then need to tell the system what layout we want to use, so in report layout selection, we say for report 105, so down here report 105, I now want to use an Excel report, the graph one I just imported, okay, come out of that, and if we now rerun that report again, so reports, finance, summary aging, it gives us the option to download it, so we download it, open our report up, and then we can see the report with the layouts, and obviously as the data changes, so will what we see in the graphs change. So thereby enabling it, you can now see that the US dollars has appeared in that graph. Very nice, simple piece of functionality, gives you a whole world of different reporting you can carry out as standard from the system. So that's the end of the highlights that I've picked out. If you want to see a full list of it, then you should be able to see the link in the chat in this webinar, or if not, you can go to the address that's on screen now and then navigate down through SMB, Dynamics 365 Business Central, what's new and planned, and you'll see a complete list of all the new features. If any of you have got any questions, please feel free to pop them into the chat and we can either go through them now or we'll follow up after the session's finished. Thank you very much for listening.
Well, that's great, Stuart. Lots of new features. Last time we showed our e-commerce solution with the integration into Business Central, and in this release, Business Central version 20, Microsoft have released the integration to Shopify. So if any of you use Shopify as your e-commerce platform, you need to be on the latest version, and that integration is now there. Now we've got quite a lot of activity going on in the chat now, which is brilliant. So we've put the link to the feedback form. So click on that link. We will send it out, but click on that link and fill in the feedback at the end of the session, please. So Ben has logged a chat to say, can you manage a lead or an opportunity in D365 sales, but you still use Business Central for your quote engine? And yes, you can. You can integrate the two systems, and then you can use one for the sales and marketing, and then obviously do the financial transactions, the quote that then converts to an order and an invoice in Business Central. So yes, no problem there. The session is being recorded, so and you will get the link, so if some of you will be watching this on catch up. So Stuart's put the link in for the what's new in Business Central, so that's in the chat now and published. There's a question about whether you can change the bill to or the ship to on a sales invoice. So it does depend on where that document originated from. So if it's the bill to and the sell to from a job, once you've started the transaction, then obviously you can't change it. Ship to addresses, obviously you can change because that's where you're going to deliver it. But then if it's delivered and then you invoice, then probably a bit too late. So it does depend on where you're originating that transaction from and where it's going. We've got another question. Can you post bulk sales invoices? Yes, you can. So basically there's a batch job that you can change the posting date, the document dates and things like that, because you could have shipped them on the 30th or 31st and then be invoicing it on the 1st. So you don't necessarily want them dated the 1st, you want them dated the 31st, so you get them in the month end. So there's the batch job allows you to change some of that functionality, but yes, that's there as standard. Okay, brilliant. Great to know we've got so many people out there live. I'm not just sitting here talking to myself. Okay, in the last event, we introduced Eddie from the Dogma Group and he went through payroll. We've now got Eddie back again and he's going to cover D365 HR for us. So over to you, Eddie.
Welcome to Microsoft Dynamics 365 presentation regarding human resources. My name is Eddie Harford and I'm the CEO of the Dogma Group. Today we're going to talk about Dynamics 365 HR. I'm going to talk about how Microsoft is transforming a traditional HR department from being an administration function into something which focuses more on the employee experience. It's well recognized that today the fight for talent is getting harder and harder. With platforms such as LinkedIn, social media platforms, the ability to identify, recruit talent is becoming easier. The ability to retain talent is becoming much harder. And the ability to understand what's important is becoming more challenging for most organizations because from a lack of information, they don't understand how employees are feeling, which are the top staff, which are the highest performing staff, and which staff are the ones which they need to retain moving forward. And obviously the ability for people to reach out across these platforms in terms of poaching staff, headhunting staff, the way recruitment agency works is becoming harder and harder. So the last 20 years later, essentially there's a whole load of different themes which are happening in terms of why employees want to stay within the next company, why they want to make a move, what employees are expecting in terms of feedback they want to be listened to at least twice a year. And there's a big percentage of people understand that actually just twice a year is not enough really. They want to be kept in contact and understood on a quarterly basis. But more importantly than that, if you have the ability to stay in contact with your employees on an ongoing basis by using the technology which is provided, and Microsoft are investing a lot of money in these areas. You've seen the likes of Delve Analytics. We've seen the likes of Viva. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that one at all, but Viva Analytics, Viva Insights, Viva Learning. These are all tools aimed at really trying to take HR from being administration into that employee experience, which is really where most organizations are trying to get to. They're trying to understand that the working cultures over the last 2 to 3 years have changed dramatically. So taking us from a place where everybody came to the office and then when COVID struck and then everybody started working from home. So the ability to look across the office and see somebody who's looking a bit sad or down and going over, having a quick chat to them, it is so much harder. You'll notice behaviours within your own organisations that when people do team meetings, you'll see certain people will turn their camera off. And this is normally a good indication of actually something's not quite right, or they're feeling a bit sad or they're down. This is the sort of the new world of behaviours we're starting to experience. And although the trend is probably to go back to the office more and more, there's still going to be a massive shift moving forwards in terms of people co-working from both home and also the office. So being able to reach out to people through different medias and tools and understand their feelings and understand what's important to them is going to be absolutely essential. And this is what these combined integrated tool sets are going to offer you, and also the ability to have all that information reportable through Power BI. This is what makes Microsoft such a compelling offering. The key to retention is probably where all know, right, is having that complete connected employee experience. So aligning people to impact, so understanding what their goals are. Using things like a 9-box grid is a really good way to do this. Empowering employees, so giving people ability to reach out or shout out or share praise or provide ideas to the management. Engage them with different programs. This could be training programs, GDPR, this could be privacy impact assessments, this could be open days, this could be learning days, this could be team building days, but really trying to support that diversity in your workplace, which can be challenging, especially when you've got people working from different locations, but with integrated tools such as Teams, combined with be able to run meetings quickly and easily, is a really cool thing. And then the ability to continuously innovate. One of the great things that I like about Dynamics 365 especially is the integration to the Power Platform. So the ability to take what is essentially a standard HR product, and then being able to integrate it with different parts of your business seamlessly in terms of maybe it's time of request, maybe it's ideas, maybe it's about the 360 appraisal process, but trying to make it more engaging with the staff by using the training and then the Power Platform to provide automation, approvals, workflows, data integrations, those sort of things. It's all really simple and really easily with Dynamics 365 HR. So Microsoft is really trying to help turn HR from, which is one of the traditionally most underspent departments of an organization, into one which is really trying to offer value add. So the cost of taking, losing a key member of your team and then hiring and then getting them up to speed of where the previous employee was generally takes about 8 to 9 months on average. So if you think about the loss of productivity for that time frame, plus the cost of hiring and the effort it goes to, the ability to retain staff is of utmost importance to all organisations. And then this has become more and more apparent as that war for talent rages through LinkedIn and other platforms. But Microsoft is trying to transform the employee experience, and you'll see a lot of this moving forwards with Viva. This is some really cool stuff. The ability to optimize the HR programs, so it's using their satisfactions, using Microsoft things like Microsoft Forms in terms of surveys, questionnaires, and obviously the sentiment analysis capabilities, and obviously taking data from the surveys and automatically recording it back into HR is a massive time saver for any HR department. And obviously the discovery, the insights by using Power BI, because obviously Dynamics HR is all built upon the Dataverse, so all the data can be accessed, reported upon in the same way as any of the other Dynamics 365 applications. So you can see Dynamics 365 is one of the core elements of 365. It is fully integrated into Microsoft Active Directory, so it links your users. All the security, multi-factor authentication is all out of the box, which is great. It also enables you to do all the common stuff, such as have an employee experience through a portal, so people can log on, do timesheets. We'll see this very shortly. And again, that's all the security is done through your standard Office 365 Active Directory Azure, which is great. So all the compliance, the GDPR, the security, the geolocation, backup, resilience, disaster recovery, all comes out of the box as standard. There's no setup, it just works. As I said, it does provide different levels of functionality and capability for the different users. So as an employee, I can log on to my employee portal and I can see my information, update my information. As a manager, I can do the same thing as for myself, but I can also manage my team as well. So this all comes as part of the employee license. And then the HR enables you to do all the administration, the setup and management as well. As we mentioned, it is built on the Power Platform. And in terms of the capability and the functionality, it enables you to work across the different areas, so organisation management, employee experience, compensation and benefits, leave and absence, and it also enables you to extend into other applications such as payroll. So I'm just going to flip to the product itself so I can show you how it looks. So this is the employee experience. So when I log in as an employee, I can see my information such as my time off requests, my tasks which have been allocated to me from HR, any certificates and when the expiry is, my next registration in terms of courses and what courses are coming up, my reviews, my performance goals, the skills management, compensation and benefits. So it gives you the ability to see all this information at a glance. If I wanted to update my information, I could do that by clicking on my edit personal details. And now I can edit my address information, my contact details, my payment methods or images. There is an integration into BC for payroll as well. So the pay methods will actually transfer through if you wanted to go for that option as well. If I'm logging on as a HR person, you can store the same information for Jeff, but now as a HR information, you get a lot more information. You can see their leave and absence programs. We can see information about their employment, and also we can edit the details about this person. We can apply a checklist, such as a leavers checklist, an onboarding checklist, a transition to a new job checklist, and you can then manage that information. We can also do things like assign a new position, change a position, or enroll this person in some benefits. So it's the same information from a HR point of view, from the HR administrator to the employee, but they get to see the same information but different views of it. If I log on to the self-service again as Jeff, I can also see Jeff's a manager, so I see this my team. And then when I click on my team, I now have the ability to manage my team as well. So I can manage things like I want to see do a time off request or something, request time off for one of my team members. If I wanted to see the different positions, my performance goals, my manager absence team calendar, skills gaps, team's performance goals, etc., etc. So I can now manage on behalf of my staff. If I have a member of my team that's also a manager, I can also cascade down and be a manager of a manager. So I can now see not just my team, but I can also see Benjamin's team and all the people within Benjamin's team. If I go back to the HR side as well, I go to my personal management. So this is as a HR administrator, I have the ability to log in and manage the different employees, different positions, approval processes, and address changes from any of my staff members, plus the contractors. If I had multiple legal entities, I could set up multiple legal entities and have different employees associated to different legal entities where they would have different benefits, different compensations, and different policies around leave and absence. I also have analytics out of the box. So with each area of the system, it comes with a full Power BI reporting capabilities, and all of these reports are all embedded, and there's no additional cost or licenses required to surface them. So the HR has things like people metrics, full-time analysis, workforce demographics, and so on and so on. And you can see each of the different areas has its own set of reports, but essentially it enables you to manage all that information as well. So if I go through the various areas, so we've got task management. So this is the ability to manage things like the onboarding process, offboarding processes, and transition processes. So we can create tasks, we can create checklists of tasks like quick actions. We can build in Power Workflow as well, so you can ability to do offboarding transitions. You can see overdue tasks, you can see my tasks. We can even integrate the tasks into Outlook Calendar if you wanted to, so it will then schedule them. Any tasks you schedule for an employee will automatically appear in the employee self-portal. We also have the ability to manage the absence leave programs, compensation packages. This gives you the ability to integrate from a payroll point of view all the different compensation elements, both fixed and variable, into different pay elements, which then synchronizes moving forward. The employee development side, this enables you to manage the skills, so you can then do things like skill performance gaps analysis, enable you to manage which employees have got what skills at what level. And again, all these reports are filterable and interactable as well. So if I wanted to, I could actually export the data. I could do a spotlight of it to highlight it in particular. I have the ability to change the access. I have the ability to apply different filters or whatever I want. It's also clickable. So if I wanted to see actually the HTML, it will then filter as part of the program. It will show me which people have got which levels as well. And again, I've got the various different skills. So if I wanted to click on a particular department, it will then filter that automatically for me. Learning gives you the ability to running a learning management system. So this is like an LMS system. So an LMS system is essentially basically training courses that you could provide. This could be health and safety, this could be GDPR, this could be data protection, whatever you want really. It basically gives you the ability to set up the different courses you provide, to make them offer or compulsory or mandatory for the staff, and then track the attendance of those staff. So you have the ability to do things like set up different courses, different classrooms, different agendas, manage the participants, review which people are attending and enrolling or which people are cancelling. You can have quite different questionnaires. You can manage the responses and success of those trainings. And you can also, if you want to do, design questionnaires which get pushed out to staff on an ongoing basis or a regular basis. So this is all the standard functionality around the system. From a compliance point of view, this gives you the ability to manage complaints, disciplinary matters, the ability to manage things like harassment, things like queries, but it gives you the ability to manage all of these incidents, if you like, securely and safely within the system, which then go on the HR files. You'd have to do paper or Excel, and then it all sits securely within HR. So you get that protection there from other people having access to the data, which which might cause an issue if you wanted to use, say, a CRM system, get the case management. You'd obviously have to apply a lot more security to it.
Hello, I am Owen Honey, and my job role here at Dynamics is a consultant apprentice. From my experience so far, Dynamics have helped me develop my skills in a range of areas such as admin and consultancy projects. I have been welcomed with open arms and have settled into full-time work, which I very much enjoy. My role itself is preparing me to become a fully qualified business solutions consultant. This entails understanding and identifying business problems and meeting customer requirements using various elicitation techniques. In my spare time, I enjoy going to the gym and spending my time outside with my new puppy.
Thank you very much, Eddie. That was a really thought-provoking subject, something we all take for granted, I think. There's been another question from Andrea. She's querying whether just using the sales invoice function. So not a bit confused about what you actually want, Andrea, but we'll follow up after the session. So we've got a few actions left from today. Remember, if you want any further information or pricing or an in-depth demo, please let one of us know and we can get that organised for you. We're going to Accountex at the Excel Centre on the 11th and 12th of May. I don't know quite why I'm so excited, but never mind. We're on stand 515. The next event will be around mid-July and we'll get a hold the date email out for you soon. The feedback form for the champagne, we've put the link in the chat. We will send it out, obviously, to doubly encourage you to fill it in. On that feedback form, there is in fact a suggestion box for any topics you'd like to be covered, and any feedback will be generally welcomed. We've covered things that we think are very relevant and of interest to you, but obviously it'd be really great to hear from you guys as to what you want covered as well. So that's it from me. Goodbye from Stuart and I, who are in front of the camera, and Jessie and Aimee behind the scenes, and many thanks for attending and watching today. Look forward to seeing you in July.